Hello and welcome. Tonight, the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, is buried in Abuja, bringing to an end an acclaimed military career that spanned decades. The Supreme Court dismisses suit challenging the constitutionality of the acts establishing the EFCC, NFIU, and ICPC. The chairman of CIG Motors appeals to the federal government to initiate policies that will support local car manufacturers in Nigeria. On sports news tonight, Alexander Zverev secures the spot in the last four of the ATP finals with win over Carlos Alcaraz, whose campaign at the season-ending event ends at the group stage.
On business news tonight, Nigeria's official inflation rate climbs higher to 33.88% in October due to the impact of higher cost of food, fuel and transportation in the country.
From Abuja, the nation's capital, the House of Representatives called for urgent action to address mass exodus of workers in the nation's health sector.
And in international news from London, shares in vaccine makers have plunged after Donald Trump nominated a vaccine skeptic to be his health secretary.
President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces in Nigeria, Bola Tinubu, has reaffirmed his commitment to providing full support to the Nigerian military in its fight against all forms of insecurity in Nigeria. Speaking as the special guest of honor at the funeral ceremony of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, which was held at the National Military Cemetery in Abuja, President Tinubu highlighted the late Chief's progress in combating insecurity. He emphasized his unwavering support for the military, which was extended to the late general, will continue as part of his administration's effort to ensure national security. Our correspondent Dele Omoyeni reports. Meanwhile, Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, believes the legacy of the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, should be emulated. She was speaking at the funeral church service for the late Army Chief at the National Christian Center, Abuja. The event was attended by senior military officers, family members, and members of the diplomatic corps. Our correspondent Benny Ark reports.
Prominent dignitaries, including Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Nyesom Wike, the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, and all the service chiefs, members of the diplomatic corps, joined family members to honor the late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, who passed away on November 5 at the age of 56. The atmosphere was filled with somber reflection as the military pipe band and horsemen escorted the late Army Chief's remains into the church. The Bible reading was done by the two children of the late Chief of Army Staff.
A loud voice from the throne saying, "Look, God's dwelling place is among the people, and he who dwells with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God.
I am making everything new." Then he said, "Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true." He said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty, I will give water without cost from the spring of the water of life."
There were prayers for the repose of his soul and for members of his family.
In your boundless compassion, console all who mourn, especially Maria, his wife, and all his children and the family.
And hymns. This sermon, titled The Life of Victory, was delivered by Director, Chaplain Services of the Nigerian Army.
We must thus make deliberate efforts to achieve victory in all spheres of our endeavors so as to live happy and fulfilled lives. The lives and times of Lieutenant General Tauri Abiodun Lagbaja was one that depicted victory. His passion for victory was not only intense, but literally palpable. He desired success and he was deliberate towards the attainment of such.
In her remarks, Nigeria's First Lady described the late Chief of Army Staff as an exemplary man.
We celebrate this exemplified man, a soldier, a gentleman, a patriot, with unwavering dedication to the service of our dear country. May Almighty God comfort and grant him and grant all the family members the fortitude to bear this irreplaceable loss. May his gentle soul rest in peace.
From the National Christian Center, his body leaves for the National Military Cemetery for the final interment. Benny Ark, Channels Television News.
We now bring you details from Daily Omoyeni's report, which says the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has reaffirmed his commitment to providing full support to the Nigerian military in its fight against all forms of insecurity across the country. He was speaking as a special guest of honor at the funeral ceremony of the late Chief of Army Staff, held at the National Military Cemetery in Abuja. President Tinubu highlighted the late Army Chief's progress in combating insecurity, emphasizing that his unwavering support for the military, which was extended to the late general, will continue as part of his administration's effort to ensure national security.
The arrival of President Bola Tinubu signals the commencement of the solemn ceremony to commit the remains of late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Tauri Lagbaja, to Mother Earth. The body of the Army Chief is then brought in, followed by formalities to position the casket appropriately. And then, the 1-minute silence. Dignitaries included the Vice President, the Speaker of the House, the National Security Advisor, the Chief of Staff to the President, as well as state governors. The Chief of Defense Staff and the Minister of Defense pay their tributes, fondly remembering a departed comrade.
He led with integrity and purpose, earning the respect and admiration of his peers, subordinates, and even adversaries. His tenure was marked by decisive actions against insurgency, banditry, and other threats to our nation's peace. His efforts significantly enhanced the operational readiness and the morale of the Nigerian Army.
His distinguished career reflects the highest standards of military honor, professionalism, and bravery. A true patriot who embodied the core values of soldiering and served Nigeria without reservation for over 30 years.
When the President takes the podium, he describes the late Army Chief as one of his best appointments and reassures the military family of his unalloyed support.
To you, the gallant officers, please do not let death defeat us. Lift your heads in pride in memory of your Army Chief. At the moment, he will have told you to honor him by pressing on gallantly with the unfinished business. And further, fight along, struggle along. And I, as Commander-in-Chief, renew my pledge to you today that the country will always support you and your families as you defend and protect our nation.
He then confers a posthumous national honor of Commander of the Federal Republic on the late Army Chief. After the President's address, the funeral citation of the late Army Chief was read by the Acting Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Olufemi Oluyede.
A fearless and daring Special Forces warrior who combined integrity with an unwavering commitment to duty, willingly assuming additional responsibilities with a steadfast sense of purpose.
The Army ceremonially presents the Nigerian flag to Lieutenant General Tarid Lagbaja's wife. Before his casket is finally lowered. The President then led the ceremonial laying of wreaths before the firing of volleys and a 19-gun salute. The late Chief of Army Staff, Tarid Lagbaja, will be remembered by officers and men for his unwavering commitment to his troops, especially those on the front line. Daily Omoyeni, for Channels Television News.
Let's turn our attention to politics now. In just a few hours to the Ondo State governorship election, the atmosphere is charged with anticipation and mixed emotions. While many voters express hope for a credible process, others voice concerns over security and transparency. In this next report, our correspondent, Itokwekutei, captures the views of election observer groups and gauges voters' expectations and the general mood as we look to Saturday's polls.
This is what the city of Akure, the Ondo State capital, looks like on the eve of the Ondo State governorship election. Traffic congestion, busy markets, and visible police presence. The people are engrossed with their last-minute shopping, who appears ready to exercise their civic responsibility in the next few hours. Some of the residents share their concerns about the election.
We are monitoring election tomorrow, so anybody who emerges as a governor, I think the citizens should accept him and go on with him.
We are ready for the poll. Even I am going to Akure North, where I want to vote. I have my PC number card with me here.
I'm just begging that they should use the fear of God for the voting that is coming.
The election will be free and fair. The police are all in, the military men are all in too. So it will actually be free, fair, and credible.
In other parts of town, state government offices are under lock and keys due to the public holiday declared by the state government.
This could be one of the reasons, because you have more people in the capital.
Observers monitoring the election have also been given their preliminary report ahead of tomorrow's election.
A bit of the hotspot of what we have here, one of the things we are saying is that Idori, most especially, top the list in places that we should really look at for. Ile Olujioke, Ondo East, and then Owo. There will be questions.
At a separate press conference by the Situation Room, they are calling on INEC to ensure the process leading to the governorship election as well as collation of results is transparent.
It is gratifying to know that INEC promised to learn from the lessons gathered from Edo election. We hope that INEC will show the willingness and capacity to live up to that promise. Timely opening of polling units, and election logistics. INEC should ensure that polling units open on time, as any delay can disenfranchise voters and undermine the credibility of the process.
As the people of Ondo State prepare for Saturday's governorship election, the concerns of voters are clear. Security, transparency, and the credibility of the process, with INEC assuring of credible election, security agencies promising violence-free poll, and civil society groups advocating vigilance. The stakes are high for fair and transparent outcome. But beyond these institutions, the true power lies with the electorates who will decide the future of Ondo State at the polls. Itokwekutei, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, the chairman of CIG Motors appeals to the federal government to initiate policies that will support local car manufacturers in Nigeria. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. The late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, is buried in Abuja, bringing to an end an acclaimed military career that spanned decades. The Supreme Court dismisses suit challenging the constitutionality of the acts establishing the EFCC, NFIU, and ICPC. The chairman of CIG Motors appeals to the federal government to initiate policies that will support local car manufacturers in Nigeria. Just a few hours to the Ondo governorship election, and our correspondents and our team are right on ground monitoring events there. Sheon Okibaloye is standing by right now to give us details of what is going on in Ondo State at the moment. Hello, Sheon.
Hi. Good evening.
Good evening. I mean, we just had Edo elections just a few weeks ago. Now it is Ondo election. What is in it at this moment for INEC? Why is it so important for INEC and stakeholders as we speak? And what is the situation report at the moment?
Thank you so much. Well, of course, this election is critical and very important. And you will wonder, why is it important? After the Edo governorship election, there's a lot to learn from those, the experience of the past off-cycle election coming from the general elections of 2023. And one we wonder, where does the security agencies, where do the security agencies, or what does INEC go from here? There are a lot of issues that they battled with in conducting the Edo election. Are they able to correct some of those faults? Issues relating to early commencement of the exercise, deployment of officials, and dispatching materials early for the exercise. These are some of the issues that have bedeviled our elections over the past years, and they reared their heads in Edo governorship election, because we saw at several polling units where elections started pretty late. So the question is, have we learned anything? Now, INEC will want to correct those faults, and those fault lines are going to determine whether INEC is going to be rated good or bad in this election. I, in fact, understand that some National Assembly members, a committee who have come to play oversight for this, have come to monitor this election also. Don't forget that there is a process to amend the constitution, amend the electoral law. There are those who are fighting and advocating for electoral reforms. These are some of the things they will be watching out for. Observers, both international and local, are on the ground monitoring this election. So it's very critical. 34,000 or so security agents, officials of the Nigerian police force alone are on the ground. So this is going to be huge. An impression needs to be made. And whether or not INEC can be respected and can be taken seriously, INEC will show it tomorrow. And that's why I think it's very important. Don't forget, Ondo State is one of those southwest states that is so sophisticated politically. The people of the state will show that when they go to the polls tomorrow, they will be able to determine for themselves who is going to be their governor for the next 4 years. There is very interesting history of politics and election in this state. And these are some of the critical areas that we need to look forward to. Don't forget that this election, as the trailing up to this election, has been very peaceful. We're hoping that it will be peaceful tomorrow also. And at the end of the day, the post-election violence that has been a problem in Ondo State, that will not replay itself.
All right. I mean, that's what we all hope for. Thank you very much, Sheon Okibaloye, and of course the rest of the team right there in Ondo State monitoring the activities before elections. So To other stories now, we head to the court, where the Supreme Court has dismissed the suit instituted by 16 states of the Federation against the Attorney General of the Federation, challenging the constitutionality of the acts establishing the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, and the Independent Corrupt Practices Commission. The Apex Court dismissed it for lacking in merit. Delivering the lead judgment, Justice Uwani Abaji held that the states were completely wrong in holding that EFCC established an act of the National Assembly was as illegal and unlawful. Justice Abaji, who led a 7-man panel of justices, ruled that the EFCC Act, which is not a treaty but a convention, does not need the ratification of the Houses of Assembly. The court had earlier dismissed all objections of the federal government to the suit filed by the states. Justice Abaji said the plaintiff's case was against the Attorney General of the Federation and not any of the agencies mentioned. Hence, the Supreme Court has the jurisdiction to determine it. The National Judicial Council, the NJC, has suspended the Chief Judge of Rivers State, GC Aguma, over judicial misconduct. The council also suspended Justice A.O. Nwabunike of Anambra High Court over same misconduct. According to a statement by the council, both judges are suspended from performing judicial functions for a period of 1 year without pay and will be placed on watch list for the next 2 years and thereafter. Meanwhile, the Chief Judge of Imo State and Grand Cadi of Yobe State were recommended for compulsory retirement for falsification of their ages. The company news now. The chairman of CIG Motors, Chief Diana Chen, is appealing to the federal government to initiate policies that will support local car manufacturers in Nigeria. Chief Chen says a situation where only less than 5% of vehicles on Nigerian roads are brand new in comparison to the fairly used imported into the country impacts negatively on the nation's GDP and puts a strain on foreign exchange.
One of the advanced automated production lines in the country, the GAC Motor Local Car Manufacturing Center in the city of Lagos. This multi-dollar investment by the CIG Group, which already has the endorsement seal of the Lagos State government, is hosting a delegation from the National Automotive Design and Development Council and the House Committee on Industry. She's the brain powerhouse behind the massive investment and did the honors of welcoming the guests to the expansive GAC Motor plant. Taking a tour through the start to finish of GAC Motor, the group settled in for some serious discussion.
Manufacturing and assembly of our GAC products.
The management wastes no time to highlight the challenges of the operating environment, to include requesting a clear support from financial institutions to enable citizens purchase and pay later.
The cost of a vehicle today is very expensive, as we all know, and people are not able to dip their hand in the pocket and buy easily. So if the government does not make local manufacturers of automobile their priority to buy from, automatically our investment will not be able to be fruitful.
Chief Diana Chen is worried also and has these 3 prayers.
We really feel pain at this moment because after our investment and partnership with Lagos State government to set up this full automatic production line, now we are facing 3 major challenges. Number 1, we don't have the special policy to support local manufacturers. Secondly, we even are not called the local government patronized. If we say there are 36 state government, we need them all to patronize us to show their first step of encouragement. Certainly that this market is big enough. Every year you have millions of cars running on the road, but only less than 5% are the brand new car market. So that means this is 95% the Tokombo market are killing the economy and the GDP growing in this country. We cannot allow this thing happen again.
The House Committee Chair, however, gave this commitment.
They need our support in putting in
legislative ideas that will enhance that their business continues to thrive.
Clearly, if nothing tangible is done to address the worries of Chief Diana Chen, then the fate of these young Nigerian workers and their colleagues across the country may hang in the balance. Expectedly, that should be prevented. Olo Phillips, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10, Nigeria's official inflation rate climbs higher to 33.88% in the month of October due to impact of higher cost of food, fuel and transportation in the country. And that's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. Thanks for watching the news at 10 on Channels Television. Let's head over to Abuja studios now, where Gloria Omezoke is standing by to give us more. Hello, Gloria.
Thank you, Anne. To more company news, Goxi Micro Insurance, a company dedicated to providing insurance services to micro, small and medium-scale businesses, has held its second annual conference. The event, which took place in the nation's commercial capital, Lagos, put a spotlight on the challenges faced by small business owners and the need for them to have an insurance plan.
The second annual Goxi Microinsurance Conference attracts key stakeholders in the insurance industry, as well as micro, small and medium-scale business owners.
That is where
this year's edition, with the theme Microinsurance and Resilience of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, aims to shed light on the benefits of insurance to MSMEs. The chairman of Goxi Microinsurance Limited, Dr. Godwin Ehigiamuswe, affirms that the work his company does contributes significantly to economic development.
The management of Goxi Microinsurance Company has amply demonstrated the power of microinsurance to mitigate the financial shock, promote resilience, and therefore foster economic growth.
The keynote speaker, Professor Sunday Adiloju, notes that microinsurance is a perfect alternative for business owners who cannot afford regular insurance packages, while other relevant stakeholders also weigh in.
Microinsurance is really designed to assist the underserved community, especially the poor, because of maybe the demand for conventional insurance, the requirement, they may not be able to get those insurance from conventional insurers. Therefore, microinsurance, because it is simple, it is flexible, and it is tailor-made, so that one can really assist the micro enterprises in their resilience.
The government is partnering with all sorts of organizations, making sure that that service, that robust financial services beyond capital gets to every MSME and no one is left behind.
Many of our members cannot afford to take the normal insurance, the big insurance, but with micro insurance, it is now possible for us to have low-level payment, instrumental payment, and very reduced rates for insurance packages.
The managing director of Goxi Microinsurance, Mr. Shino Agbandegeshi, says the company has been able to gain the trust of MSMEs.
We have paid over 636 million in terms of claim. And, 99% of all of the people that are benefited are essentially all those, people that you can even never thought they would even want to consider taking up an insurance. And that's for us. We have been able to establish some kind of, trust for them to have seen that, truly they can experience that insurance work.
Goxi Microinsurance will be looking to expand its customer base in the coming months and years.
Food and beverage company Promasidor Nigeria Limited has donated a 16-seater bus to the Tea and Bread Sellers Association of Nigeria. Officials of the company made the presentation in the commercial city of Kano. The company also conducted capacity building for members of the association.
Tea sellers, popularly called Mishai, are known for providing one of the most common street meals in the northern region, with Kano State having a significant number of young people engaged in the business. At this event, officials of food and beverage company Promasidor Nigeria Limited are engaging the Tea and Bread Sellers Association of Nigeria, who are top on the list of their customers. A session on entrepreneurship skills training was included in the program to build the capacity of the members of the association.
We see this relationship as much more than just a business relationship. We see them as partners. Hence the reason we decide to empower them by means of a business training. We believe that we can teach them some soft skills and commercial acumen skills that will help them better run their businesses.
The company presents a 16-seater bus to the association.
If you look at the branding, it's not only for Tokti. It comprises of other beverages like a cowbell, and we have a lawyer, we have a cremela too. But with this presentation, I think it will go a long way because moving the bus around is giving a kind of advertisement to us, and at the same time to the people that also knows about the product.
What we are expecting from the members of this association is every corner, nooks and cranny of the Nigeria, wherever we go. We don't want to see any tea apart from top tea. We don't want to see any milk apart from cowbell. We don't want to see any seasoning or any other product apart from Promasidor product.
The national chairman of the association expressed confidence that the bus would enhance the activities of the association.
We are grateful for providing for the activities of transportation for the activities of our association.
Promasidor Nigeria Limited is promising to continue to support the growth of small businesses and fostering entrepreneurship across Nigeria.
A chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Health Institutions, Honorable Amos Magaji, is drawing attention to the significant challenge of the nation's healthcare system following migration of health workers from Nigeria to other countries. The lawmaker stated this during a public hearing on 16 health-related bills before the House of Representatives. Honorable Magaji wants the matter addressed urgently. Touching lives. MTN Foundation social investment initiatives. This was the thrust of the message of MTN Foundation at its 20th anniversary dinner held in Lagos, Nigeria. Executive Director, MTN Foundation, Mrs. Odunayo Soya, expressed gratitude to the foundation's partners and stakeholders, affirming its commitments to national development. Our correspondent, Olumide Macaulay, reports.
From the location of Balmoral Convention Center, Ikeja, MTN Foundation's 20th anniversary dinner took shape as officials, partners, stakeholders, and guests got set for the occasion. The dark, sacred night. In the hall, MTN Muson scholars whose training of musicians funded by MTN Foundation and the vintage band serenade the guests. I don't feel it hurts to be in town, cause I feel it's really time. The opening address is given by the acting chairman, MTN Foundation, Dennis Okoro.
For 20 years, MTN Foundation has embodied the spirit of innovation and excellence, demonstrating an unwavering dedication to improving lives and fostering sustainable development across Nigeria.
One of MTN Foundation's goals is to transform communities. The Executive Director, Odunayo Soya, elaborates.
It's been over 3,000 communities impacted, over 14,000 scholarships awarded, over 200 primary healthcare centers revitalized, 213 boreholes installed across communities.
For the Governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the contribution of MTN Foundation is a beacon of change. His address is delivered by his representative at the event, Commissioner for Commerce, Cooperatives, Trade and Investment, Folashade Ambrose Medibem.
The Foundation's investments in 110 science laboratories and various scholarships, as well as their support for maternal and child health, have been invaluable.
A recipient of MTN Foundation's empowerment shares her story.
The MTN Foundation actually came at a time I really needed it. After COVID, we had some issues. We're running low on capacity. The final stage was for us it was a business pitch. And luckily, we were part of the 50 finalists, and that has really helped our efficiency in doing our business.
Hey!
The effect of MTN Foundation continues to be felt around the country with the guiding principle of inspiring impact where it matters. Olumide Macaulay, Channels Television News.
That's it from the nation's capital. It's over now to Anne for more on the news at 10.
Thank you, Gloria. The African Nature Investors Foundation is committing to partnering with the federal government to develop the nation's natural national parks. The executive director of the foundation, Mr. Tunde Morakinyo, made this pledge at the commissioning of the National Rangers Outpost at the Gashaka-Gutmi National Park in Tongo local government area of Adamawa State. Mr. Morakinyo also called on the federal government to wade into the activities of illegal miners around the northern part of the park.
The Gashaka-Gumti National Park is Nigeria's largest national park, located on the eastern provinces of Taraba and Adamawa on the border with Cameroon in Tongu local government area of Adamawa State. The host community rolls out the drums to receive the delegation from the African Nature Investors Foundation here to commission the National Rangers Outpost.
In the Gashaka sector.
The executive director of the foundation, Mr. Tunde Morakinyo, sets the tone for the commissioning and raises alarm over illegal mining activities in the park.
So far, we have provided 300 full-time jobs. When you look at all the rangers working here, the support staff working here, the drivers, the cooks, etc., more than 300 jobs. We have provided another 3,000 indirect jobs.
The federal government applauds the initiative and also talks about the concerns about illegal mining and cattle grazing in the area.
We've been working hand to hand with the National Park and the ANI in terms of security, in terms of the development of the communities around the national park.
It is expected that the outpost will help to tackle insecurity and create job opportunities for the youth within the communities.
ANI is so special, and there are social amenities that the community in Gumti sector is supposed to benefit, and this is one of it.
The collaboration between the National Park Service and African Nature Investors in managing these two national parks is apt and will go a long way in mitigating these challenges and protecting our wildlife, biodiversity, and ecosystem.
The commissioning is then done, after which the dignitaries take a tour of the 6,700 square kilometer area with rolling hills, savanna, mountain forest. It also holds a wide diversity and is one of West Africa's most important primate habitats, as well as supporting lions, elephants, hippos, and buffaloes.
And chimpanzee.
From the environment, we head into the world of business, where Dominic Iwewu is standing by.
Thank you, Anne. On business news, in line with forecast by economic advisory firm Financial Derivatives Company, Nigeria's official headline inflation rate hit 33.88% in October, marking the second consecutive monthly increase. According to latest reports released by the National Bureau of Statistics, the benchmark CPI rose by 2.64% month-on-month against the 32.70% rate recorded in September. The report by the NBS attributes the higher inflation level recorded last month to further increase in food prices and cost of transportation amid high petrol price. Key highlights of the inflation report shows that food inflation sub-index rose to 39.16%, while core inflation picked up from 27.43% to 28.37%. At the same time, urban inflation rose to 36.38%, while rural inflation jumped from its previous level to 31.59%. The Debt Management Office says it is seeking to raise about 120 billion naira through the issuance of federal government bonds from the FGM bond auctions for November. The amount represents a 33.3% decrease when compared to the 180 billion naira raised in October. The issuance, which is also one of the lowest amounts offered this year, is scheduled for Monday, November the 18th, and it comprises 2 reopening of existing bonds and are expected to attract significant interest from investors due to their attractive coupon rates. And back home, after days of seesaw movements, the local boss finally ends the week on the positive side, with more than 296 billion recovered from the previous loss. Laddie Williams tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Reports. Well, the bull makes a comeback to crown the week with a nice gain, over 0.5%, 97,724 points. That's for the all-share index. Not a bad way to end the week. Look at the sectoral performance now. We see that oil and gas counter on fire, but most of the counters we track, all in the green. Buy interest in Ondo and Cornell, popping up that oil counter today. Market mover from dragging the market down yesterday, Boa Cement managed to pull the market up with a 3.80% gain there, closing at 95 naira 50 kobo. So a nice way there for the bulls to carry up with Boa Cement. So interestingly, the market rose today regardless of the data that we got. Inflation, again, on the rise, 33.88%. That's the number for October. So I guess regardless of that, the bull charged regardless.
And that's it on business news. Back to Anne for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Dominic. Still outside our shores, German Chancellor Olaf Scholz has called on President Vladimir Putin to negotiate with Ukraine to end the war. He described Russia's recent deployment of North Korean troops in Kiev as a grave escalation of the conflict. Here's Simon Puser with other international news and around the world in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. Shares in vaccine makers have plunged after Donald Trump nominated a vaccine skeptic to be his health secretary.
Today I nominated him for, I guess, if you like health and if you like people that live a long time, it's the most important position, RFK Jr. Bobby?
Donald Trump says Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will help make America healthy again as he continues to shake the political establishment with some of his picks for top jobs. Overseeing a budget of around $700 billion and roughly 65,000 employees, the health secretary is in charge of the largest department in the federal government in terms of budget. The World Health Organization described vaccines as absolutely critical to global health, adding that many people alive today would not have survived childhood without them. Many other bodies have also been critical of the appointment. A former UN Secretary General and a former UN climate chief have said the United Nations COP climate talks are no longer fit for purpose and need an urgent overhaul. Senior figures also say countries should not host the talks if they don't support the phase out of fossil energy. This week, the Azerbaijani president told world leaders gathered in his country for COP29 that natural gas was a gift from God and he shouldn't be blamed for bringing it to market. That came days after it was reported that a senior Azerbaijani official appeared to have used his role at COP to arrange a meeting to discuss potential fossil fuel deals. A report by Human Rights Watch says Israel has committed war crimes and crimes against humanity by deliberately causing the mass displacement of Palestinians in Gaza. About 1.9 million people, 90% of Gaza's population, have fled their homes over the past year, and 79% of the territory is under Israeli-issued evacuation orders. That's according to the UN. HRW's report says this amounts to forcible transfer, and that evidence shows it has been systematic and part of a state policy. It also says Israeli actions appear to meet the definition of ethnic cleansing. Israel said the report was completely false and detached from reality. The left-leaning alliance of Sri Lanka's new leader has secured a landslide victory in the country's snap parliamentary elections. Official results show President Anura Kumara Dissanayke's National People's Power coalition scored a two-thirds majority in parliament with 159 seats. Dissanayke, who was elected in September, needed a clear majority to deliver his promise to combat corruption and restore stability after the island's worst ever economic crisis. The high cost of living was one of the key issues for many voters. Emergency services say at least 10 people have been killed and others hurt in a fire that broke out at a care home near Zaragoza in northeastern Spain. The fire broke out in the town of Villafranca de Ebro early on Friday morning, and local officials said 82 people were living in the home at the time. The centre opened 16 years ago as a retirement home, but has since specialised in care for residents with dementia and mental health problems. The ages of those who died are not yet known. A hacker has been sentenced to 5 years in a US prison for laundering the proceeds of one of the biggest ever cryptocurrency thefts. Ilya Lichtenstein pleaded guilty last year in the case involving the Bitfinex cryptocurrency exchange being hacked in 2016 and the theft of almost 120,000 Bitcoin. He laundered the stolen cryptocurrency with the help of his wife, Heather Morgan, who used the alias Razzle Khan to promote her hip-hop music. At the time of the theft, the Bitcoin was worth around $70 million, but it has since risen in value to more than $4.5 billion by the time they were arrested. And a huge endurance feat known as the Great World Race has seen its fastest ever Antarctica marathon. 54 entrants from 15 countries compete over 7 marathons on 7 continents in a week.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing!
William Mounsell and Ashley Poulsen set new record times for the marathon in Antarctica on the first leg of the race. The runner's next race is in Cape Town in South Africa. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Thank you, Simon. In the world of sports, the Super Eagles of Nigeria have arrived in Uyo ahead of Monday's Matchday 6 clash against Rwanda in the concluding round of the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying campaign. The 3-time African champions who have already qualified for Morocco 2025 and are confirmed group winners have nothing to chase other than national pride, and they are expected to play a more relaxed game against the visitors. Both countries battled to a goalless draw in their first confrontation in Kigali in September. And ahead of Saturday's Women's CAF Champions League final Group B clash between Edo Queens and title holders Mamelodi Sundown Ladies, coach Moses Aduku says that it's a winner takes it all cash. But both teams are now on 4 points after 2 games, and a slip against the South Africa side could see the Nigerian representative exit the tournament. Egypt's Masara Women FC, who are on 3 points, beat Ethiopia's CBE Women. And the main news again. The late Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Taoreed Lagbaja, has been buried in Abuja, bringing to an end an acclaimed military career that spanned decades. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. Have a wonderful night rest.